G'day and welcome to the Blind Advocate channel. If you like what you've seen, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell and hit that like button as well. G'day and welcome to everyone, if there's anyone there. I don't know how long this stream's going to last for this morning. We have an emergency notification of a power outage in this area. Upgrading the electricity lines. We had a mini tornado earlier this year and done a lot of damage. So I'd say that's probably why they're doing that. But just wanted to explain how I got to this point with this YouTube channel. I developed my first disability in 1989, and I've developed a few more since then. And I always felt that there should be a platform for people with disabilities to come together and exchange and share ideas, views, and opinions and experiences as well. I really believe that people have the right to free speech, and I won't impeach on that. People have the right to say what they want. We might not like the way they say it or what they say, but they have the right to say it. Especially if you're in a minority like people with disabilities, it's quite often restricted in what you're saying and why you're saying it, because people with disabilities shouldn't have an opinion and should just sit in a corner and be quiet and be thankful. And that's not the way the world is nowadays. I've been trying to get this channel up and running. I've probably been working on it for 2 years. I first thought about it through COVID when I was doing a lot of stuff, watching stuff on YouTube. And there's not much really out there for people with disabilities to participate in and to be treated as an equal and with respect and understanding as well. So I feel that's really important.
Sorry, Jeff, we've got Giselle in the basement.
Okay, don't bring her up. Hi, Giselle.
Hello, Jeff. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yep. How you going?
Very good. Thank you. Just thought I'd pop in and say hello, and good on you for starting something like that. Jeff, even if it's to give people a voice, but the issues that concern them. So I think it's important and quite easy to get into. I was a little bit worried about whether, oh gosh, another communication platform. I've never done it through YouTube, but the prompts were very easy to follow to get into the conversation. So.
Oh, that's good. And I've seen you participating in the emailing list. I've recognised your name for quite a while, so it's nice to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah, you too, Jeff. So is anyone else on this call?
Hello, Giselle. I'm Chris.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. I'm helping to be the man behind the curtain. I think it's my job today, isn't it, Jeff?
We always need one of those.
Yeah, hopefully. So if anything goes wrong, it's my fault.
Yeah.
Oh. So, Giselle, I assume you have you either blind or vision impaired, if you don't mind.
I'm blind. Yeah, I'm blind, Jeff, and I've been one of the lucky people to enter the NDIS just before the age 65 cutoff period. That was 5 years ago now. I'm now 69, but at the time that I was just very fortunate, that it rolled out into my area when I was 64 something, and I got in. But I do feel for those people, and I know you've got a segment on this, that are over 65 and can't get the NDIS. I think that's one of the issues that I know you're taking up. That's really critical. Yeah.
Yeah, I've read some of your emails through the emailing list, and it caught my attention a while ago. And to be honest, I haven't done much investigation.
Yeah.
Only what I've heard from other people.
Yeah.
But I think it's great that you're advocating for that as well. It's really
Yeah.
important.
But I haven't been doing much. There is I did post on the email list. There's I think they're called Mitri Lawyers, Mitry Lawyers, and I think they're based in Sydney. I've kicked off a class action, and they've got apparently hundreds of people who've now joined this class action to try and push for the NDIS to be available to people over 65. I do understand that given what is being said about the cost of the NDIS, that by having a substantial increase in numbers could cause a problem. But I think I just think the whole NDIS has to be looked at, which I think there's a review going on, which I've also. Sorry, Jeff, I'm getting Joe's alerts as well. So I think we have to balance between the reality of including everybody, but selecting people over 65 that truly would need the support of the NDIS, should be possible.
Yeah,
Hello?
Yeah, I think we need to look at it. I think, I've tried to get the numbers from the NDIS before, or from the NDIA. They say it's 30 billion a year, but I'm just trying to find out how much of that 30 billion is going to support workers and OTs and physios and that sort of stuff.
Exactly. And I know from my experience, and I'm sure from yours, it's not so much like when I pay a support worker, for example, it's contributing to the overall economy. Even when you purchase a piece of assistive technology, it's contributing to the general economy. Where I think I have some concern is where providers that were previously providing services through charitable organizations, for example, are now being paid through the NDIS, and at like this capacity building improved daily living one, where people get paid $193.99, so say $194 an hour, but the kind of services you receive for that, I don't think, like, even doctors don't get paid that, and I think it's when I get charged that for some services that I don't think warrant such payments, and it's multiplied, because this is one of the biggest budget categories in the NDIS, multiplied by over 500,000 participants who are paying $194 an hour for services that I think could be charged at a much lower rate and still be viable, and I think this is where the cost is going into, Jeff, rather than when I pay a support worker $50 something an hour, it's actually going through, contributing to the general economy through the fact that this support worker has a job, the fact that this support worker pays taxes and so on. It's very different to the kind of payments we're making to providers who are providing services that previously were paying supported through charitable donations and so on.
And that was what I mentioned, was it last week or the week before? The NDIS, we have a lot of, I have a lot of support workers, OTs, physios, that sort of thing. And I said, there's like double and triple dipping. Like, if I apply for something, then I approach my coordinator of support, then she's got to
Yeah.
get reports from an OT and a report from a physio, and they're all charging like, $194 an hour and
Yeah.
charging 4 or 5 hours. So, there's 3 people I've got to access to get one thing, and they're telling
Yeah.
the reports are just saying what I'm saying in the
Yeah,
first
exactly.
place.
Exactly. No, that's exactly, and some of them is 9 hours and so on. I think most of those providers that charge at $194 an hour can, when they're doing a report, can charge up to 9 hours, and even though it becomes almost pro forma to write those reports, and they probably cut and pasting. A lot of the research has been done, and I don't think it's as individualized as all that, and
Mm.
and a lot of it is cut and paste reports, and they're still charging on it. And I think that's where that, for me, is one of the really questionable budgets, of the NDIS, that is, taking up so many of the dollars that are being expended onto the NDIS, rather than, like I said, the support worker who's getting $50 an hour or something like that.
Yeah, because I think the general community is under the impression that $30 billion is going to people with disabilities,
Yeah,
but we're actually creating employment through
exactly.
support workers,
Yeah,
OTs, physios,
yeah,
coordinators, LACs. But
yeah,
the actual amount that each person gets for AT
yeah.
would be quite minimal out of that 30 billion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, even when you're buying a piece of technology, which might cost a few $1,000s, firstly, you're providing, you're supporting the business, those businesses, you're providing support for people who, if they didn't have that technology, they would probably needing, more support workers to do it, so it's, I think there needs to be an analysis of that $30 billion, but how is it exactly being expended? Is it being just wasted into, a dark hole, or is it actually contributing to the economy? And how, I don't know that we've really quantified. When you get a figure like $30 billion, well, what does it mean? We expend, the Australian government expends billions of dollars, in the COVID period, how many billions of dollars were expended to support businesses, but that was viewed as an investment, and I don't understand why the NDIS is not viewed as an investment into the economy, investment in the welfare of the people that are receiving the supports, the well-being, all of that, and yeah.
Just hang on a sec, please, Giselle. I've just got a power outage here.
Okay.
I'm just going to get Chris to jump on the hotspot so we can get back into the stream.
Okay.
So you've got you're still on there with Jeff, so that's still working fine through there. I'll just need to set up the hotspot though.
Yep.
But I think there's a very valid point, Giselle. I think that one of the other things is that, especially out in rural areas where we are, because the specialists have got very limited time, and I know when I've spoken to them, they spend a very large amount of time filling out paperwork for the NDIS instead of actually seeing people and providing services to people. So
Yeah.
this is another issue that relates to what you were just talking about.
Yes. How much of that billions of dollars is wasted in reports and other expenses that are not justified, or services are not actually provided. I mean, it's, you don't want to name and shame organizations, but I know each of us probably would have a story to tell in which we have felt that our funding is not being, is not being utilized for our benefit as such.
I agree, and I think that the everyone thinks that because we're blind, we all have the same problems and we're no different.
Yeah.
But, I have different, skills and strengths and weaknesses that you don't have, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
generalize from the rest of the community to generalize for what people with disabilities need, or use.
Yeah.
They just don't know, and we need to get it there and educate everyone. It's a huge ongoing problem. That's why I started this channel, was to help educate us and the general community as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I also feel, Jeff, that it's, this division between over 65, under 65, and you said the general community, their needs are there. I don't see why we can't go back to the ideas that were, formulated under the social security idea, that it's not just for people who have a disability, people who are aging, people who might be unemployed, people who might not be qualified as have a disability or age, but still need services. I mean, I've got friends who are maybe single mothers, and they just can't get the kind of support that they deserve. And I would like to see like a complete rethink of our social security system, so that we really target the people who have genuine needs. I mean, there are people who get the NDIS. It's not even because it's not means tested. I know people who are in very high position and getting very good salaries, or business people who are still getting the NDIS. And whereas there are people, simply because being of a certain age or not quite qualifying as having a disability, don't receive any support. And I just think there's an imbalance there as well. That it's a total rethink, I think, of the way we look at the vulnerable people in our community. That's not just people with disability or age people and so on, and that we need a whole rethink. And again, the value of investing money in social services for the benefits are much wider than just the $30 billion is not lost. It's not lost, and that needs to be analyzed, just how much of that money is contributing to a stronger economy, to less dependence on like for example, people may be experiencing depression because they haven't got services and so on. So none of that has really been quantified properly yet.
And that's one of the things I'll be touching on over the next couple of weeks. I'm reaching different organisations and people on with mental health issues, people with disabilities, deaf carers, and the support workers, because it does impact and vulnerable people more vulnerable. But when you're talking about single parents, I had an email from a person, and I assume they're a single person who is a vision impaired. I don't want to give too much information out, because it's sort of not my story, sort of thing. And that is an issue on the way the community perceives people with disabilities as a parent.
Yes.
Single parent, or like a husband or wife or partner, or whatever the case may be.
But even if they didn't have a disability, Jeff, my point is that when we look at our society and who needs help, who would need a support worker to come, who would need a piece of technology to assist them in their everyday life, I think it goes beyond disability or age. There are people in our community. It might be a very young person who finds themselves out, in the street or something like that. Those kind of support are needed in a wider community. And it's about, it's just looking after the vulnerable people in our community and investing the money as it is. And if it is $30 billion or even more, as long as it is not wasted and in every social financial way. I mean, how do you calculate what is wasted? Are we just talking about dollar values, or are we talking about the I think they call it social values, the values that we can't quantify economically, like well-being, like you've mentioned, like mental health, like simply being people feeling that they are they're contributing, to the community, and have got needs, and those needs are met. And it's not just disability. There are some people with disability who do very well without support, and there are people who don't have a disability who need support.
Yeah, I mean the 30 billion, I'd say the overwhelming majority of that is going towards employment of others. It's a huge thing. The general misconception that $30 billion is going towards people with disabilities, but they're not understanding these physios, coordinators of support, LACs, NDIA staff. The huge employment.
It is employment, and but even with support workers, even if the money is going to, we are not getting the money like in the bank to go and have a drink at the pub or something like that. This money is being spent productively. Like the 30 million, whether it, never mind some of the waste that there may be, there always is. No matter what we talk, you talk about the defense budget or any other budget, there will be some waste, and so on. But generally speaking, as long as that money is being spent productively, then I don't see the issue.
No, I agree. Just hang on a sec. Just hang on a sec. Is it
okay?
Right. No. Well, I'd have to shut down the conversation to connect to a hotspot. So
okay.
We just hang on a sec, Giselle. We'll just jump into a hotspot. And restart this.
I'm glad you tech heads know what you're doing, because I
don't have to go. Just hang on a sec. I've got a hotspot. Is it working?
No, it's not coming up.
Is it under my hotspot or?
It's not picking up any hotspots at all. Yours or mine. Mine's definitely turned on. It's just not detecting it. So I think, Jeff, the best way is just keep going with what we're doing through mine, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to find why it's not connecting through.
Yeah, but has it been recorded or going out?
It's still going. It's still going, so it's all still fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So we're still good to go. Are you still with us, Giselle?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I think I've run out of steam, but I'm still here.
Yeah, no, you're doing really well. It's is this the first time you've been up on the panel?
Yeah.
It is? Oh, good. Yeah, I've been on different panels around the world, in the US, Canada. It's good fun. It's a bit of an eye-opener.
Okay.
I wanted to start this channel because we need to exchange views, opinions and ideas, experiences, and as well as educate.
No, I've been into more formal panel, including with NDIS and Intopia Connect and so on, but not something like this, which is like informal, jumped in and suddenly, it's very well. You've done it really well, Jeff, giving people a voice. But no, this is my first time, so it's I didn't really know what to expect.
No, you're doing really well, really well. Really first time so I can understand. But coming across fantastic. We're through.
I've got you back on. And that's the wonders of technology. So
admit that.
Yeah, I'll just need to.
Okay,
Okay.
Sorry, Giselle.
Okay.
Can you hear Jeff?
yeah, she's there now. You there?
Yeah.
Can
Everything
you
went
hear
away.
Jeff? Can you hear Jeff, or you can just hear me?
I can hear you, and I hear Jeff a bit more in the background.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Everything went away for a few minutes. But
Okay, try again, Jeff. Sorry, we've had a power failure. So
okay.
I'm managed to get everything back going. Try again, Jeff. See how we go.
Okay, so
No, that's better.
Can you-
Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how long have you been on the NDIS for, Giselle?
5 years now. 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, and self-managing, and that's another. I think I won't touch on it now, but that's another really good topic about self-managing or plan management and agency manage. Because people are still struggling with those options, and I don't look back on being self-managed. I really don't look back on that choice.
Yeah, I couldn't do the self-managed. I sort of looked into it when I first went on, but yeah, I just don't have that confidence or those skills to do that. So
Yeah.
I have a friend who's self-managed. He does it really well, but I just, I'm not confident with it.
Yeah, well, it's good, but it's good to talk about everybody talk about their choice, as a from one of your programs, that when people are still a bit floundering about what they should try, So yeah, and
Do
it
you
is good.
use? Yeah, sorry.
No, go on.
Do you use LACs or coordinator support or?
I don't have a support coordinator. The local area coordinator, maybe I'm in touch with him maybe once or twice a year. In fact, probably, yeah, just to touch base, but that's all. I rarely connect with him. It's all right. It's okay. But no, I don't really use anyone. I just kind of look for the information I need, and yeah.
Yeah, you sound like very capable of advocating for yourself.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I had 6 LACs in the first 18 months. And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
lost all confidence, and I actually flat out.
Yeah.
I told the NDIA I don't want them. I won't use them. They said, "Well, no, you have to." And I said, "Well, no, I don't actually." But anyway, that's when I got the coordinator of support, and she's been fantastic. But I wonder how many people out there are like a self-managed.
You can get those. There is. I don't know if you received through the NDIA or NDIS. There is you get the annual report and the quarterly reports, and those statistics are in there. The last time I looked, it was about 11% that were fully self-managed. Then about 30 odd percent, 27 something percent that were either plan managed or mixed, and then incredibly, the majority of people were agency managed. I would have thought the majority of people were plan managed, like as you are. But no, the great majority of people are agency managed. It was staggering, like 60 something percent. we're paying, and then paying 30, so over 60% agency managed, about 30 something percent that were either plan managers mixed, and then about 11% totally self-managed. I think that is changing since the last time I checked those figures. I'll have a look at the quarterly report or the annual report to see if I can get those stats. But you can also get. I get all these reports, and other people. It's not really nice bedtime reading, but they do reveal a lot. Those reports,
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I don't get those reports. Maybe I have to register for them, but
you don't have to. Like I think what you're doing is great. Just let people talk and everything like that. I'm just a bit of a nerd when it comes to those questions. So, like I like to get an idea.
So how do you keep up with all the changes that are going on there? That they have a guideline or a policy in place, then it's changed,
Difficult.
and
It's
changed.
difficult. It's difficult, and I just try to go something. Even the terminology changes. So what people used to call a review, when say, for example, if you're not happy with your plan and you'd go for a review, well, they've changed that wording now. You don't go for a review because people got confused between your regular review and the review that you requested. So you now seek of, like a variation and things. So they even changed the terminology, which is really, it's and I don't find. I actually find sometimes you get more information from plan managers. Like if you, even though I don't have a plan manager, you can actually go on the website of different plan managers, and they're usually pretty good at summarizing the changes and so on, better than the NDIS is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah. So, like Mike Herrer and, plan partners and so on, all those sort of plan managing organizations usually are pretty good and quite quick when there's a change to summarize it for their thing. And so even if you're not a member, I think you can actually look it up.
Yeah, because I've tried to apply for things, and they said, "I don't. We're going to have to change it because it's recently been changed." And I think I applied for. I can't remember what it was, but I was eligible for it.
Yeah.
Then the guidelines changed, and it made me ineligible for it. Then they changed it back again. It's just. Yeah, like I said with Peter Greco, it's with the NDIA, it's either the good, the bad, or the inconsistent.
Yes. No, sorry, I think.
No, you're
can
right.
I just take this? Sorry.
Yep.
Hello, is that speaking?
I might just jump in here for a second. We've just got a comment from Adam Morris. He's just saying.
Sorry, Jeff. Okay, I forgot about the phone.
No, you're right. Chris is just reading a message.
We've just got so Giselle. We've just got a chat message has come through from Adam Morris. He says, there are lots of people who get very large plans, so they can get 24/7 support that they need, and apparently there's a special team set up to approve these kinds of plans.
Okay. I didn't know about that. I know there's a special team I used for when I had one of my reviews when I wasn't happy with my plan, and there was a special team, and they were fantastic, I have to say. But that's the other thing, is that you find these fantastic planners, and special who are really well versed into the NDIS rules. And I had one who then approved all the changes I was requesting, explained really well what he couldn't approve. And then when I reached out to him again, he was gone from the NDIS, And so that's the other thing that's really difficult, is there's such a huge turnover of staff and so on. So yeah, you have these special people, but they don't always last. But it's good to know that they've got one for people who require 24/7 care, because they are there.
Yeah, thanks, Adam, for that. Look, and I did speak about this last week, that there's a lot of workers there who do face-to-face work with clients. Then they go home and do the book work in their own time at night.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and that's great, but it also causes burnout, and those people, good people, end up leaving.
They end up
Um,
leaving, and even with the I heard the Quality and Safeguards Commission, they were getting the Quality and Safeguards Commission, the workers there, and often people who are attracted to those roles are people who do have some form of social conscience and ideals and so on. So they're attracted to those positions and they get in. And so with the Quality and Safeguards Commission, I was hearing they had so many cases. And they couldn't keep up, and some of the workers were going home in tears, because they couldn't resolve the matter, and they were reading all these terrible situations which they wanted to do something about, but they just could not manage it, and so it was affecting. Go on.
No, I'm listening. You're right. Keep going.
No, go on.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that I've had service providers who tried to help me outside their scope of their employment, which they had no expertise in. I really appreciated all the effort, but it does create confusion. It causes burnout. We lose good people that are hard to find, and I think that needs to be looked into as well.
Yes, definitely.
The ongoing policy changes and the amount of book work that's required. Because I think somebody once said to me, it's about, depending on the client, it's like for an hour's face-to-face, they can do 15 to 20 minutes of paperwork afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's done in their own time. And that's not healthy.
No.
For them, for their mental health and their physical health, because they're doing a lot of overtime, which they're not getting paid for. And like I said before, I think when the NDIS was first put forward as an idea and created, I think they drastically underestimated how much people with disability went without.
Yeah,
because you can't afford something, so you just go without. And now this avenue's open. People are applying for things that they need that they could never afford. And I think the government at the time drastically underestimated that.
Absolutely, I agree, Jeff. I really agree that that there was a huge underestimation, and sometimes being over generous in some cases. With at the beginning, it was people. It was like the honeymoon period when they were over generous because they thought they could support it, but because they underestimated the real needs, then you saw some people getting maybe huge budgets, that they couldn't even spend it, and then others not getting sufficient, So it's and like you said, the local area coordinator simply not being. I mean, the first one I had, I had no idea whatsoever. Like no idea whatsoever of the needs. These local area coordinators that were thrown into the deep end of it and having to deal with different people of different disability and not really having any grasp of the needs of those people, It's not
I think,
to their
Giselle,
own fault.
if I can just jump in there for a second as well, something else that I know I've seen situations where people have care and support at home through family and friends and things.
I can't hear you, Chris.
Before the NDIS, they had to lean.
Sorry, Chris, I can't hear you.
Yeah, you're not coming through, Chris. No.
I'll try again. Hello?
There you go.
Testing 1 2. Okay. Yes, this is one thing that I've noticed is people who get some support at home is that often the family and friends were almost at a stage of burnout before funding came through with the NDIS. So there's sort of been a bit of an assumption with some of the NDIS planning where they've said, oh, well, but you've got support at home. And you go, well, yes, but this person's often getting little or no support themselves, and the carers need to then have a chance to step back, and suddenly the NDIA discovers that the person needs a lot more funding than they needed in the first place, because if the person can't look after themselves, then they don't need 6 hours support when a spouse is at work. They need twice that, because the carer can't just be there all the time supporting them. So I've seen that a few times as well.
No, absolutely. And I mean, there was one case they were talking about on radio as well recently about, I think it was the mother of a young autistic man, I think 22 years old, and the NDIS said, so he was going really well and having friends and support, and then the NDIS cut his budget because they thought, oh well, you're his mother, you're at home, something like similar to what you're saying, and then that meant that the mother had to quit her job to start paying, and the boy wasn't getting to see people of his own age, and the whole went back down, because somebody decided that he didn't need that much support when he really did.
And that's unfair. And I remember when I first went on the NDIS, because I've got multiple disabilities, and they said, well, what's your primary disability? And I said, well, that really depends on what I'm doing at the time.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, it's like if I'm walking around, then it's my blindness. That's my primary disability. If I'm doing something more physical, then, my tumor in the spinal cord and my MS might be the primary disability. She said, well, you need to pick one. I said, well, no, I'm going to refuse to, because I've got multiple disabilities that affect me at the same time, but in different ways on depending on what I'm doing. So she said, I'll just do it for you. So she picked blindness. And I think that's unrealistic. If someone's got more than one issue, you can't have one primary disability. It's just unrealistic.
That's right. Especially the way that they say it has to, whatever you buy, it got to meet the needs of your disability. Well, if you got blindness, but you need somebody, as in your case, for your MS or something like that, then theoretically speaking, because it's not recognized, you're not allowed to, spend your budget on that. But you need it, and it's so much.
I think. Yeah, no. Look, there's a lot of things with the NDIS that are great, and there's a lot of things that need to be, reviewed and changed. And I think the government needs to be more informative when they say, "Oh, it's costing $30 billion," because like you and I both said, people just assume that it's going to the pockets of people with disabilities. Well, it's not.
It's
the
not.
greater amounts going to employment. Like I got a bad back. I got 8 crushed vertebrae. Father's Day last year, I fell in the shower and broke my left hip and had to have a rod and screws put in. And I needed a special, I needed a bed, like a hospital bed that can lift up and all that sort of stuff. And they said, well, we'll only do a single bed. And I said, well, I need my wife beside me. If I need someone, and they said, well, no, they only do cater for you. They don't cater for your wife. And I said, well, that's unreasonable, because I need her beside me during the night in case of whatever. I did get the funding through. The OT did a fantastic job writing the report. But when I went to purchase the bed, because they left the S off bed, instead of getting like beds, like 2 single beds, they said I could only get the funding for 1 bed. And I said, well, no, 2's been approved. So the money's there. They just wouldn't release it just because they left the S off the word bed.
Other things,
It's things like that. It just makes it so difficult and frustrating. I applied for a talking microwave,
Yes.
And I tried for years. I had tactile markers, and I tried memorizing
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
different.
yeah,
Didn't work. Yeah, the markers fell off and everything. Anyway, I went to the tribunal with it,
yeah.
and the NDIS lawyer said, "Oh, look, we had staff who are blind or vision impaired, and they have a talking microwave.
I
They
remember you
don't,
mentioned, yeah.
they don't like the voice, and the family members
Yeah.
don't like the voice, so you
Yeah.
can't have it." I'm well, what's that got to do with me?
No,
Just,
and I remember when you posted about that, Jeff. I remember when you posted about that. I said, well, goodness, like, yeah, but just because they don't like the voice, what's got to do with it?
yeah, and I just said to the lawyer as well, I said, of course they're going to say that, the people who are working for the NDIA who are blind or vision impaired, you're
Yeah.
paying their wages. It's a conflict of interest.
Yeah,
And she's,
that's true.
you can't say that. I want an apology. And that was like 3 years ago, and she's still waiting.
Yeah,
She's not getting never get an apology.
Did you get your talking microwave in the end, or did you get one? Or?
I did, and like 2 months after the warranty, it blew. So,
Oh gosh, it's always the case.
my wife and I
Yeah.
said we're not going through this ordeal again. It
Oh,
was just so it took me, because I had to prove that I had tactile. I had to get the OT up to put the tactile dots on it. Then when they fell off, she come up and inspected and said, "Oh, yeah, they've fallen off." We tried using different apps like TapTapSee and Seeing AI, and that didn't work. And it was like a 12-month process. Then I got the funding through. Then I got the microwave, and then like 2 months after the warranty, it died. So I'm not doing this again. It's just ridiculous, People
they was saying I got the funding for the talking barcode reader, which I've been using since 2009, different models of the talking barcode reader, and I got it, and I think, and then it was Envision America decided to discontinue it. I said, oh God, I just got it. And then it was really difficult. I actually, through Vision Australia, I purchased every single sticky barcode reader I needed to because there was no point having the device if you didn't have the labels, So I was running around, finding out thing, and they were discontinuing it from the website, and I had to go in and say, I need labels because I had this, $1,800 device, and no barcode labels to use it, So I know.
I got the bug. I had the ID Mate, then the ID Galaxy, which I still got. And I use it to read medications. I'm on a lot of medications. But I also use it for a social every 2 weeks. I go down and play cards with a group of blokes with disabilities. I use the scanner to read the cards. It's got
wonderful.
I've got a pack of cards from Vision Australia, the barcodes on it, which is great. But like you said, they discontinued it, and I said to the OT from Vision Australia, I hate using the apps because they take so long.
Well, that's going to be one my thing. I'm actually speaking at Ali Camp, the accessibility camp, on Thursday, and I'll be talking about that, about the fact that you have to use an app for everything now, and you could see, I know, on the list, I won't name her name, but one of the people who was trying to get Aira to work on her mobile, and Siri would not recognize, our accent or whatever, and she ended up not going to her meeting because Siri wouldn't load Aira because things like that. I said, why do we have to use an app for everything? And you end up with 5,000 apps on your mobile. I still struggle to use a smartphone. I really do, and why must I, that thing? And soon enough there'll be apps for everything, and all the technology, like the camera why have a Pearl camera? Why even have JAWS? They'll say, oh, you can just use VoiceOver on your smartphone, or TalkBack on your Android device or whatever, and they'll start defunding all this technology, and yet I still like to use my desktop computer with, my screen reader and my old devices. Yeah, but
Yeah,
so
I
many
have
things to talk about.
Yeah, I have a smartphone. I love it. I use all the apps. I have about 4 pages of apps
You do?
on my
Yeah.
phone. And, I use a lot of voice commands with it. I find them, I love my, like I said before, my iPhone's a multi-purpose tool for me.
Yeah.
It does a lot, but, I prefer using the barcode scanner to
Yeah.
the apps because it's quicker, it's instantaneous, where the apps are, you can wait 30 seconds,
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
feedback for it to come
yeah.
back. But so where do they draw the line for that sort of funding? Are we all going to be forced to use 1 or 2 items or 1 or 2 apps?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
another issue.
Yes, it will come to that. Yeah, so much to talk about. We better leave some for your next shows. Yeah.
So I was going to ask everyone who's listening today, like, is Wednesdays the best day for most people, or should I move it to another day, like a Friday or something?
Wednesday suits me, but it will depend, of course. But at the moment, Wednesday suits me. But there are other people, so yeah.
Yeah, I think once I get a few more subs and a few more views, I might do. I'm planning on doing it twice a week.
Okay.
Because like I said, I've put a lot of emails out from talking about different things. One of the things I wanted to talk about that's coming up is people not just in region but remote areas, and Indigenous peoples. With the cultural differences and how they find the NDIS. So I've got all these feelers going out at the moment. But there's a lot of things to talk about.
Do you want me asking, Jeff, are you able to draw support? And I know, Chris, I understand you're helping today, but are you able, Jeff, to get people to support you, I guess, to run even this thing? And I would imagine there's some things that, like, the whatever role you're taking on, Chris, today, like to get support. To think, are you able to use your NDIS funding to get someone to support you with this project?
Yeah, well, the app itself is I think it's pretty much accessible now.
Okay.
But being on different panels over the last couple of years, there's trolls come up on camera.
Okay. Yeah.
And I need someone sighted to see if somebody does that, so they can just drop them straight out of the chat.
Okay.
Because I can lose my channel when that happens. That's why Chris is there. But it's called StreamYard, this third-party app. It is accessible, but I just need someone sighted.
Yeah. Well, I'm just wondering whether you can use your budget, to get someone sighted to support that, even, it's a legitimate NDIS activity, I would think, because you are doing something that is, it's a, what would they call it in the what budget? The assistance with social and community participation budget. It would be quite legitimate to have you to actually pay someone to be your assistant, in this project.
Yeah, Chris is one of my support workers that I have through the week. So this is just part of his what he's doing. Good. But Chris is brilliant on what he does. He used to be the assistant director for accessible media for the federal government.
Which one?
Yeah, I worked for the federal government. I was working in communications. and I've worked with extensively with digital media. So I'm not. It's not your typical sort of background for someone doing disability support work, but yeah, I think when I came along, Jeff, given what Jeff had planned for setting up this channel, I think he got the jackpot at the time. It was a pretty good matchup, I think.
But it's a really good example, Chris and Jeff. It's a really good example to me that, as you say, it's not just about the typical disability support work. It's about being innovative, and finding people like yourself, Chris, that maybe would never have thought that you'd be helping somebody with a disability, but that through your skills, you are able to do it. And so it's not this very narrow scope of disability support person who might go to study disability support at TAFE or whatever and come out, but that anybody in the community can be a support. Like when people like you, Jeff, come up with a thing like that, you find somebody like Chris, and it's I think it works well for everybody, I guess.
Yeah, well, Chris and I, we've got other staff that Chris has trained to help do this. So if Chris is on holidays or he's off sick, then somebody else can come in and take over. So that's been really, really good. But what you said before, and I said this to Vision Australia so many times, because here in Armidale we have the University of New England.
Yes.
And
I love Armidale.
Oh, you've been here, have you?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But I said, why not access the university?
Good
get
idea.
people who are working in a certain field or different things to come and do work experience, and that might lead on to a full-time career for them. They just need to, like organisations like Vision Australia and Guide Dogs and other organisations, tap into that resource, use it. It's a great opportunity.
Which I think something you're touching on there that might be a good idea is if NDIA staff have to a few times a year go out on site and doing support jobs, because I think in terms of their roles of doing assessments for people, is actually having some on the ground experience would be massively beneficial for the entire organization.
That's a good idea, Chris. That's a good idea. It's a bit like on TV. What was Undercover Boss? Like that. There was a TV show where the CEOs used to go undercover to work in the factory and suddenly get in touch with what the workers were experiencing. So undercover NDIS.
I'm not sure if you heard from any of the other casts, but my wife had motor neuron disease, and we had assessments that were being done on her. Some of the NDIA staff were very knowledgeable and very helpful, and I had a similar situation that you had where the people who were working with it all left when we did the next plan review, and the next person who came in the week beforehand, they'd been working for the Department of Tax. They had no experience with disability support. They'd never been on site. They'd never worked with anyone with a disability. I'm not even sure if they knew anyone with a disability, because it was just this. They actually said to us, "Oh, can you walk us through everything that happens during the day?" Someone with motor neuron disease, they need 24-hour day support. We just sort of go, well, I can't verbally walk through the support that's required for someone over a 24-hour period if you've got no context, because you just can't understand the amount that is being done with that person.
Of course.
Here in Armidale, we're restarting it. We have a thing called Adopt a Disability Day. So we get council staff, outdoor staff and admin staff. They put their hand in the hat, and whatever they pull out is the disability that they have. And then we give them tasks of what they do. So we had one bloke who pulled out being blind, so we had a blindfold on him, and someone from Guide Dogs came up, and they said, "You need to go down and walk." Anyway, he's walking along, and he kept smacking his head in those telephone booths that Archie
Yeah,
had.
yeah.
Yeah, kept smacking his head. There's about 4 or 5 of those in a row, and I think
Yeah.
he collected everyone on the way. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
but we do have that Adopted Disability Day, and it's really
Yeah. So
it's
interesting.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It
It's
it
like
is interesting.
because my main area has been digital accessibility, Global Accessibility Awareness Day. They asked people to switch their mobile phone to voiceover and try and work thing, and people couldn't wait for the day to be over because they were kind of they kind of like so it's they're good or don't use your mouse on your desktop computer, don't use your mouse, do everything by the keyboard, and like people then really get an idea by those kind of experiences. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I've gone to different YouTube channels, and I've gone into the comment section, and I've left comments like, be more verbal in your description, and
Yeah.
maybe audio description. And the amount of criticism I caught back,
Really.
from people, oh, why, if you're blind, why you're watching YouTube, that sort of,
I know that's
just stay home and watch TV. They're just nasty comments. So
yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. When you might know that I took out a legal action against calls online, which since then I've been really good, with their accessibility. But way back in 2015, when I took that legal action, there were a lot of social media comments, and that was one of the ones is, why would you want to shop online? And anyway, when the shopping comes, you won't be able to know what's what. And I wanted to jump in and say, yes, I will. I'll just use my ID, mate, a barcode reader. And but the lawyers didn't want me to answer any of the social media, because it was, the case was going to court, so I wasn't allowed to have any voice on social media. But some of the stupid comments that people made, very ignorant, and and I couldn't answer any
nasty.
of those.
Yeah, well, I was watching this thing on YouTube this morning about smart TVs, and they're going into a lot of detail. So I added the comments, I have a YouTube channel, Blind Advocate. Can you do one on accessible TVs for people with blind or vision impaired? If you want to contact me, and I'll put my email address in, then I'll get a notice from YouTube saying that I breached their guidelines. And
because you put your email.
Yeah, so I thought, well, that was unreasonable. I could lose my channel over it. So, but when I tried to hit on the different links that they provided, they didn't work.
Well, I had the same thing with one of the, I won't name them, but one of the platforms I use for hiring support workers. And you're meant to do it through their message board, right? But it was a nightmare. Trying to navigate the message board was a nightmare. So when I posted jobs, I actually did the same thing as you did. I said, can you please, don't message me on the message board. Can you please, and I email me, and I put my email number, or call me, I put my phone number. And it was deleted by one of the administrators, and I got an email saying, you've breached, as you say, you've breached something like that. You are not meant to, advertise your phone number or your email address. You must go to the message board. Yeah, but your message board is not accessible,
Yeah.
And so.
Even if you can physically use the message board, if it's very difficult to use, that does make it inaccessible in itself. There was a web design that I was working on at one stage, and the developers said that they developed an accessible menu system. It was quite a large site. And we said, no, it's not, because you have to click through every single item. They said, oh, well, but you can click through every item. And then we said, okay, well, let's do a bit of user testing on you then. So we need you to find this hyperlink in the content, and we're
Yeah.
going to work out how many clicks you need to do. And it was 176 clicks
Oh,
that they
my
needed to
goodness.
do on a page to go through the entire menu
Oh,
system
totally. Oh,
to get
gosh.
to link to the
Mm.
email, at which stage they
Yeah.
conceded. They turned around and said, oh, yeah, we need to find out a better way to do this. But it
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
until we actually took them through that process
yeah,
that they realized that even though something is technically accessible, if it's
Yeah.
not feasible, if it's too long a
Yeah.
process, if it's too challenging,
Yeah.
it's too difficult,
yeah.
then
Yeah.
that's not accessible.
Exactly, and that's the whole understanding of accessibility and usability, and and expectations and so on. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I had
and
the Optus app, and I filled in all, to register it, fill all the fields in, then I had to tap in the login button and couldn't find it.
yeah,
Couldn't find, so I rang up
This is-
Optus and I told them what was going on, and they ended up fixing it. But the trouble is with there's an app. I downloaded the Mabel app.
yeah,
That they provide support staff through
yes, yeah,
the app.
yeah.
I can't even log in. It's
Yeah.
every time I try to type something, it boots me straight back out.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't use their app. I use I use the website, but again, it's something similar to say, Chris, to find the messages on their message board. It's a nightmare, and then as you say, you have to go through all the messages before you find the one that thing, and then as soon as you go to another page, then it pops up all the other message. It's but you're not allowed to give your email address, and they think that if you do, that is probably, it's not even, the only reason that it's not for your privacy. The reason they're doing it is because they're afraid that you're going to make a private arrangement, which is the last thing I want to do, because that's why I use those platforms, is because I don't want to make a private arrangement, Yeah, anyway.
Well, that's why I
yeah.
use that Blind Advocate email address, not my personal one,
hmm
because I don't want people emailing my private one and with nasty comments and that sort of stuff. But
it would be nothing for those platforms, if they were worried about that, to have the ability that those messages go through via the platform, but is redirected to your email address. So at least you can, on your email client, you could read the email,
Yeah.
But no, everything's got to be on the platform, And anyway, we could be whinging all day.
Well, it's not whinging. It's just
I
pointing
know.
out things that need to be
Yeah.
improved, and
Yeah,
and I suppose if somebody who doesn't have a disability is watching this, they just whinge. But no, we're
Yeah,
not whinging. We're just
I know.
pointing out
Yeah,
the deficiencies of the services or apps or whatever the
Yeah.
case is. It's not whinging.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
but the NDIS, I think, I don't go onto their portal. I tried when I first got an NDIS. I think I tried about 12, 13 times
Yeah.
to get onto the portal, and it wouldn't let me, so I just gave up.
Did you?
Okay. I just walked away. I just couldn't have been bothered. I had other things that were more important at the time. I don't know how accessible it is now.
It is. It's accessible. It's accessible, Jeff, for what I have to do on it, and I found it quite accessible. But then I'm used to it. I do it practically every day, so it's become now second nature to go on and do what I have to do, claims and whatnot. Yeah.
And that's the thing is, that's what I tell everyone. Like, if you're blind or vision impaired and you use a screen reader, then you have to read 100% of what's on the page to get to that 1 or 2% that you need.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah.
Out of that length, then it's a long-winded process, and
That's why I found it difficult to use social media as well, because when you go on social media and you found that you have to read so much if they haven't provided the means to jump from heading to heading or whatever, and you're having to scroll down, and apart from the time, you feel, like if you're using a keyboard, you feel it in your arms, it's like that RSI from here. You start to get, so anyway.
It's not as easy as a sighted person who can quickly scan through and skip through and pick up keywords, click on this, click on that. And that's what my previous service provider, when I had their support staff coming, I said, while you help me on the computer, I just don't want you to sit there and click, 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 click. I want you to tell me what you're doing as you're doing it, so I can follow what's. And they just sat there going click, click, and I sat there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm going, what are you doing now? What are you doing now?
And
I got frustrated with it, and they used it against me. So it's that's not the current one, the previous one.
When you have this authentication, where they might send a code to your smartphone, and then you have to enter it to your computer on your landline, and I'm finding, like, because the way that we're using the voice technology, like the time that I retrieve that code and try and decipher it, because it's often like 6 numbers, that I read 6,000,000 and you have to try, and then time's out before I'm able to enter it, on the website or on the landline, and it times out because you're meant to do it in a certain, number of seconds, and physically there is no time to do it. You haven't got it when you're here.
And what really annoys me is, I hate it. It's that you get an audio code, so they speak and you can't understand it.
Understand it, no.
It's terrible. It's There's a lot of work that needs to be done, a lot of advocating.
Oh, absolutely. We've only touched on a few things today.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So how long is this your session lasts usually? Is it 1 hour? Or is it
usually about 2 hours.
Okay. Yeah.
Depends on who's up and what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have a funny story before you go, like that's happened to you?
Oh gosh, it would be good to have a funny story, wouldn't it? I'm going to share one, which I'm going to share tomorrow. Is that with all these apps going on now, where you have to have an app for everything. I'm waiting for a new guide dog because my guide dog passed away. No, that's not funny. That my guide dog passed away 7 months ago, so that's not funny. But because of this thing now that you've got an app for everything, I'm dreading that I'm going to get an SMS from Guide Dog saying your next guide dog is now available for download, tap here, and then you could maybe, like decide whether you want because it's not male, female, and so on. Now it's what he/him, she/her, whatever dog, and do you want a black or white, and do you want it to walk fast or slow? Do you want one who barks, doesn't bark, and so you'll be able to set up your app Guide Dog, and you won't just go and use the GPS function, and yes, and you'll be good to go, and it will save the NDIS money, because instead of paying $50,000 for a dog and $30,000 for the training, they'll be able to just give you a $15 app, for your next guide dog. So I don't know if that's funny, but
that's true though. I remember when I first lost my sight, and the first time I ever went out walking by myself, I went downtown, and I went to the taxi rank, and I sat down on one of those wooden benches.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there waiting for a taxi, and this person walks up and sits down. He starts talking. He said, "Oh, how you going?" I went, "Oh, not bad, mate. How's yourself?" He goes, "Oh, what have you been up to?" And I said, "Oh, just not much, just shopping. I'm just waiting for a taxi to go home." All of a sudden, he stands up and he says, "Can you hang on a minute? This bloke beside me thinks I'm talking to him." So he was on the phone to somebody else.
You're gonna get that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, I'd never forget that.
We should always end up with one of those, that
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
yeah. Jeff, I'm not leave yet because I got to think, but look, thank you for starting this project, and thanks Chris for your help with this as well. But I think it's a good project, and I hope
yeah.
that you can get others to join in, and
Yeah, me too.
yeah,
I'm sort of trying to, put it out there and contacting different organisations and letting them know
yeah,
that it's there and available. And it's for everyone. It's not just for one specific group. It's for everyone. So
yeah,
hopefully
yeah,
it'll take off. I'm
yeah.
not expecting huge things in a quick time. I'm expecting it to take a long
But
time.
yeah, it was good the one you posted yesterday, and I think this morning that you put the direct link. Click here to join, and that was really easy.
Yeah.
So that was good, Jeff. Yeah,
Oh, thanks for that feedback.
yeah,
I
yeah,
appreciate any feedback. It's really good. No,
yeah,
and like I said, I've seen you many times posting on Adam's email list, and I've
yeah,
always thought, oh, who's this Giselle? So it was finally
yeah.
nice to meet you after
Me
a
too.
couple of
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It is, Jeff, and good on you. Okay, so I do as when I sign off to just do I just that's it. Do I have to do anything to leave the meeting or anything like that, Jeff?
No,
Or
just you can
okay,
just shut your window down, and
okay,
it'll
okay,
close you out.
okay. Well, thank you both, and we'll see
Thank
you
you.
again. Okay,
It's been good to meet you.
You too. You too.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Well, that was really good having Giselle come along. She had a lot of good information and feedback, and it was a good interaction, I thought. So thanks, Giselle, for coming up. It was really good. I appreciate your time, and hopefully we can speak again in the future. I don't know. Is there anybody down in chat? I know Adam was down there.
No, we haven't got anyone else in the chat at the moment. So
Okay, no, that's all right.
that's it.
All right, so we might wrap that up for the day. I think, like I said, I've got a power outage here, so I'm using hotspot. I don't want to go my data usage. If my phone bill goes up, I'll get in trouble off my wife. So, happy wife, happy life. All right, well, thank you for everyone who's watched or going to watch. Please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe and hit that notifications bell. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chris.